quick, let's go ahead and dive in, talk about averages against common opponents. I'm going to kind of just break this down for everybody watching. So the other night I pulled, there's 4 games that USC and Utah have played the same opponents. Those games are Cal, Oregon, ASU. What's the other one? What am I missing? USC. Cal, Oregon, ASU, USC. So there's 4 games where we have played common opponents. In those 4 games, when it comes to yards allowed, USC or Utah has allowed 274 yards per game, and Washington has allowed 474 yards per game. So the numbers are wildly different. Utah's defense has held up way better than Washington's has. And I think the number one most surprising number is on offense for Utah and for Washington. In the 4 games against common opponents, Washington's average yards per game is 451 yards per game, and Utah's is 420. A 31-yard difference between an offense that people have painted a picture as being the worst thing in the world and an offense that people have painted a picture as being the best thing in the world. I just think the narrative right now feels so off of what this game actually is. There is a really good shot, guys, just in those yardage totals alone against common opponents. Utah should have a huge yardage advantage. So I would just get excited, guys. If you guys are hyped for the game, seriously, smash the like button. I couldn't be happier to be on the show with you guys tonight. Seriously, thank you so much, all 3 of you, for coming on. It is a pleasure to be doing this. I'm having a ton of fun already.
Let's get it.
We're still going to be going for a while tonight. It's going to be a great time, guys. Comment down below. We're going to ask a lot of questions. I want to hear everyone's opinion in the chat too. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get it done. It's going to be a ton of fun. Guys, do you guys want to touch on anything about the averages against common opponents before we move into the keys to the game?
What I'd be really curious about is how many possessions. I mean, I don't know. And you wouldn't have this data available, but how many possessions that an opponent of Washington has versus a Utah opponent based on the style of play, right? Because that's going to dictate yardage too, based on more plays, more possessions. Utah plays control, right? Clock control, limited yardage, less possessions. I'd bet that opponents probably have 2 more possessions in a Utah game and stuff.
That's a good point.
The ability to generate more yards and everything. I think the Washington defense, we're probably going to get that next segment. But yeah, that's one thing that I would think too, that makes sense to a degree because of added possessions.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, go for it.
I wanted to hit on one thing, especially with Washington's offense the last few games before USC. I heard around the rumor mill that possibly Penix was playing hurt, which would maybe explain, why they only scored 6 points against ASU and why they struggled before that. So, he did look good last week. So maybe we take it with a grain of salt and just see what happens come Saturday against a very tough defense.
Larry, they all touched on it. You want to say anything?
No, as far as like that goes, points per drive kind of is what Philip Wild Ute was referring to. It is kind of strange. It is pretty evenly matched. And I heard Penix had the flu or something. So 2 weeks, because Washington almost lost that game and took the lead with 1:30 left in the game. Washington almost lost at Stanford. So to think Utah doesn't have a chance is just ridiculous. Yeah. So struggle win against Stanford. I think we should be there. Competing.
Yeah, we're gonna dive in right after this. But even when you don't look at averages against common opponents, averages in the past 3 games, which is for Washington, that's Stanford, USC, and ASU, doesn't look great either. So I would just say I feel like we are primed to go be the Rocky and go knock this guy out, dude. It really feels that way.